Generation 1 squad, go squad. What's going on, man? We here. It just feel good to sit down with the family, man. How y'all doing?
Hey, bro. I'm doing real good.
Yeah?
I'm doing real good. I get to sit with my brother, my sisters, and we about to eat some good food after this.
That's
I ain't gonna lie to you.
right.
I'm hungry, bro.
How you ain't gonna say
I
your
was gonna
shit by
say,
your
you're
wife?
right. You're right. Yeah,
did.
you said your brothers and your sisters.
I guess I did look at everyone
and
else.
then you
Bruh.
mentioned
My,
food.
listen, my beautiful wife.
Talk that talk.
And I'm excited because I get to sit next to my wife.
Yeah, see, and that's the perfect segue.
That's
he
why I'm
said
excited.
his wife.
That's the real reason why I'm excited. I told
Alright.
y'all about the other stuff first.
That's what he's
but the
doing.
real
Not
reason
all
I'm excited.
of us coming, we're like,
He's-
what?
He's doing
The
that.
real reason.
He's doing it.
Don't listen to any of this noise.
Wow.
The real reason is because I get to sit next to my wife.
All right.
Well, that's love.
Oh.
Now that you've had your moment,
Thank you.
that's the perfect segue into what we're talking.
All right.
What we're
That's all
talking,
right.
That's all right.
about.
What we're
That's all right.
Talking about
right?
diligence in dating, and I'm sure Ty had to be very diligent in his dating of Ren before she became the wife.
That's right.
The-
yeah.
Can I say the nickname or no?
Oh, yeah.
You can say
Let's just do it. Yeah.
The Rib.
The Reb.
That's
The
that's
Rib.
what he calls her.
The,
in
the
family.
mighty rib.
Moving right along.
The McRib.
the Mick.
I'm also excited because I get to sit next to my wife.
That's right.
That's my wife. Zoom in right here. That face. It's my wife. Praise the Lord.
That's Rick's wife.
Yeah, just in case you didn't know, that's Rick's wife.
I don't know if y'all heard me.
Right there.
But that's the
That's
wife.
his wife.
Praise God.
Mariah's Rick's wife.
So
For anybody wondering, Mariah's Rick's
wow.
wife.
Ty is doing that today. That's what we're doing.
We're cutting
I don't know if y'all
We're
knew,
cutting
but
up.
we out
This is
here
bad.
being a family. You know what I'm saying? And if you can't tell, we love each other and we're joy. We have joy. You know, and praise the Lord. I pray we keep flowing in that, right?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Because we was doing it off camera. Anyway, diligence in dating. I got a question for y'all, man. What does it look like to date with intentionality?
Taking it slow,
Yeah.
like so slow in a pace that you do not recognize, because you would of course rather go super fast and just like, hey, this, I know God is calling me to this person. Let's just do it. Let's just get married. But taking it really slow, knowing that God is in every step of the way
Right.
throughout this process, like before the engagement, during the engagement, and then the wedding, and knowing that there are pieces that he needs you to be present in and not skip over. Otherwise, you're going to be married and you're going to be facing them, and God may have wanted you to face them just with him and you. But then now you're over here bleeding out in your husband's arms, and originally it was supposed to be with just you and God. So just taking it really, really slow.
I was forced to take it slow. Legit. Like Ren knows. I wanted us, we were, you know, when you're even engaged, I still consider that to be dating. Obviously, there's some more finality to it. It's not all the way final, but there's more finality to it. And I was like, all right, 6 months, boom, we in there. It's going down. I know it's time. And Ren actually pumped the brakes on it. She was like, I think that there are a few things I want us to do. And this is when it comes to like the question, like, how do you date intentionally? There are certain things that you might need to set in place in order to make sure you guys are moving at the pace that is accommodating to both of you. My pace would have been 6 months, we going, let's do it. And Ren's pace was, hey, actually, I would like for us to have marriage counseling first. And I would like to actually fly to where you're from, Omaha, Nebraska, and meet your family before we do this thing. And I said, those are valid reasons. Now, did I want to do them? I was ready. But I was like, you know what? To be intentional with what my future wife wants to do, as well as what I want to do, she's not asking for anything that's crazy. She's asking for something that actually makes sense. So I said yes. It took me a little while. I was a little stubborn. I was a little bit like, man, I thought it was going to be time for us to get married. And it ended up actually being a whole nother year. But I love that you brought up process because, yeah, God is a God of process. And we went through the process that I didn't know I needed, but I actually really did need. And as much as we need to be intentional, God is so intentional whenever it comes to any aspect of our life, especially something as big as relationships.
Yeah. I think diligence in dating is like knowing that you're still dating yourself, even when you're dating the other person. And that means don't stop the work on yourself. Like, don't stop keeping this relationship, just like everything else in your life, in front of God and really on the altar. Because honestly, like, until we got to the altar, I kept that relationship on the altar. Like, I was like, God, is this the person that you have for me? Continue to show me, you know what I mean? And he was faithful in that he did continue to show me. Like he's not gonna leave you hanging. Like I will say, like, God will, if you ask him that, he's gonna show you. Like he's gonna show you through gestures, he's gonna show you through things that you prayed for and things that maybe you didn't even pray for that you needed. So like I think that it's really, really staying close to God, keeping the mirror in front of yourself, because you're always going to continue working on yourself even after you've married the person and made a life with them. So I think just keeping first things first. Like you and your relationship with God come first. Period. Like 100%, you and your relationship and your growth and your development come first. That way you can determine, is this a deterrent to like the progress that I've already made, the track that I'm already on. You can be able to identify that a little bit sooner. So but I definitely agree too with like taking your time and doing your due diligence. And that doesn't mean that, some people do take the 6-month route, but although I feel like with those, it's usually because, they've probably experienced life a little bit more and they know like, oh yeah, like no, this is definitely my person, because I know who my person was not. You know what I mean? So I feel like but everybody's situation is different. So timeline wise, that's really between you and the Lord. But again, it comes back to having that personal, relationship with God and relationship with yourself intact through every single step of the process.
100.
100.
Ren used to really do that. And it used to actually grind my gears. Y'all remember that saying? It's really grinds my gears.
Oh, yeah.
No, Ren used to literally be like, I think even into marriage, Ren would still be like, wow, God just is really showing me that I really picked the right person. I'm like, girl, we married.
And
I sure hope so.
But he just continued
that's the key though, is like she always, and I think we always together have put our relationship on the altar. And I'd say to anybody that's dating or wants to date, put it on the altar.
Yeah.
Consistently in every stage, in every phase of the relationship. If it's dating, put it on the altar. If it's your fiancés now, put it on the altar. Even when it's marriage, continually submit your partner and submit that relationship to God, because he's the one that knows everything you need. And you're not going to get it right all the time. She's not going to get it right all the time. He's not going to get it right all the time. So who's going to always get it right? God. And even if y'all don't like it, he's always going to get it right. So that's why submitting it to God is so crucial for us, because man, otherwise it gets messy.
Yeah, man. And it's real because one of the things Mariah was talking about is something that I was reminded of by my one of my big bros. You know what I'm saying? My mentor, I would say, Brian Freeman. So
Rick loves Be Free.
That's
if
my
you've seen
dog,
this,
man.
Just know, and Brian will know this.
Yeah.
Art paid off.
Oh, yeah, that's that thing.
Art paid off.
Hey, listen.
I say it to him every time.
Be on the lookout for art paid off,
Just
man.
know it paid off.
It's about to go crazy.
Just know it paid off. Every time I see him, I look at him and say, hey,
Yeah, right.
just know it paid off.
Come on, man. You gotta be your hype man for your squad, man.
Yeah.
But Free would say to me, like, there are certain storms that you need to weather by yourself before you get married.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
Because if you're in a marriage trying to weather those storms, you're not by yourself anymore.
Right.
Like Mariah is subject to whatever storm that I'm facing or weathering. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like we weathered the storms, if you will, because we took our time. You know, can I say our timeline? What you had in mind?
Yes. Oh, I wanted to rush a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Tell-
You were like me.
Yeah.
You guys are the one.
I was
It's
like,
time.
yeah.
Now.
Okay,
She
so
knew. Yeah, she knew.
of course I knew. I knew when I first met you. I was like, who's that?
Yeah.
But I remember when I was having a conversation with my girls and the discussion was, hey, did you guys see the Twitter thread of how long did it take for a Christian man to propose to his woman? And a lot of them were like 3 months. And me and Rick, how we were like 8 months in maybe. And I was like, do you know or do you not know?
Yeah.
And he pretty much at that point broke down. And I believe it was the day he got my ring.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. And the way he responded, I was like, oh, I'm never going to ask again. But then the Lord convicted me and was also telling me like, there's still work that I have to do in you. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So then I just had to lean into the process.
Yeah, because that's the thing. The process for me was I had to figure out what we were going to do financially. You know, I was like, are we staying where I was living at the time? You know, at one point I was living in Lakewood, and then me and Ty got really close, and then all of a sudden I'm living with Ty and Jalen in the same crib. You know what I'm saying? But had we been engaged and married, that would have been a messy thing to navigate. Now, granted, I understand that, bros understand, the wife is here, the wife comes first. Yeah. But if we didn't have to do that, why would we? I feel like patience was the thing that really was highlighted in that journey. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
But now I want to hear from you because she's newly engaged.
Yes.
So sparkly.
You better talk that talk,
Jay. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Look at that.
Wow.
Zoom in on that if you can.
Really don't. There's no need
Put
to.
a ring on it.
Oh my
You
gosh.
see how her ring is holding her down,
But even
her
if we did
finger.
zoom in, you still see the sparkle.
That's
with
what
it.
I'm saying. No, I agree. I guess I wanted to more like take it slow because I also knew that God had called me to do stuff, like called me to LA and called me to do other things that I was still going to do. And I'm like, I love you a lot, but what comes first is what God's called me to. And the same thing had to come from him. He's like, I love you a lot, but I still feel like that God is calling me to do stuff as well. And so we had this mutual understanding of like, we really like each other. We love each other. Like, this is awesome. Like, let's support each other and like do what we need to do, and then we'll get married. And so we had that like mutual like agreement and understanding, but that was only because we just kept God at the center. And like with like the diligence, like constantly checking in with the Lord, like, because we did not start out as long distance. We're long distance now. And so it's like to walk through that and to be like, okay, God, like you gave me like a man that like I want to be my husband one day. Like, are you sure you still want me to move across the country? Are you want that? Like, is it that important still? Or can I do that when I'm married? And God was like, no, you have to keep checking in with God. Like, God's like, no, like I need you to do this. He's got to do his own stuff back home. I need you to do this. You both love each other. I'm still with you. You'll be good. But let's just do this and then you can come together. And so I'm more of like I got to do what God calls me to do before I settle down and get married and have kids. Because I can still follow what the Lord is calling me to, but it's going to look different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Something that we could all consider when it comes to dating, and we just said it, like all three of us, or there's not three of us, there's five of us.
Yeah.
Somebody's knocking at the thing.
Yeah, it's
I'm
probably-
sorry,
Yeah.
I get distracted.
Probably
Yeah,
the good
I
pizza.
recently figured out that I
Hey,
may
Generation
or
One
may
Squad
not possibly, potentially, maybe have ADHD. I did. I mean, I could be wrong. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I'm gonna say this. Obviously, this probably wouldn't on air
if it goes
on the thing, but I feel like ADHD and ADD is something that like I was pushed to agree with that I had, right? And I feel like everybody has different levels of focus. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. That word alone, I feel like for me growing up, that don't really like
Traumatized you?
Yeah, it stammered me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I would use that as an excuse. And I was taking Focalin, Adderall, all of the type of things that are like prescribed.
For folks who
You ended up taking it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I took it for a little bit. But I stopped taking it because I didn't like the way it felt. I felt.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that was a big disagreement that me and my family got into.
It's interesting.
So-
I almost wonder though if like a certain degree everybody has a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody, because everybody's focus
Absolutely.
levels
Yeah.
are different.
Yeah.
Especially this generation.
This could be
Like,
this
way
could be
more
a
distracted.
side conversation.
For sure. Absolutely.
I love
Yeah.
that though.
Dive
I
into
actually,
it.
I actually really enjoy
Yeah,
it.
because I feel like parents not knowing in that that generation, they put a label on something to make it feel like they were having, they had whatever their child had under control. Right. So it's not, when I say a sense of control, it's not a sense of control in most cases, hopefully, where they feel like they're helping their child.
Yeah.
But in some other cases, it could be a form of manipulation.
Yeah.
Let me stamp
Dangerous.
mute your personality so you can fit into this type of
What I want you to be
exactly.
like, so that I'm not looked at as a
Exactly.
parent that doesn't know how to handle my kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is another conversation.
Yeah.
And maybe this stays in here. I don't know. Jalen will do the edit. Obviously, Jalen is an incredible editor.
He's a
He
wizard.
does
Hi,
all this
Jalen.
stuff.
Well, he's not a wizard. No, he's a
wizard.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's a surgeon. He's a surgeon.
He's a surgeon.
Slicing,
Like
slicing
that.
and dicing and all
Yeah.
the things. Same with James. Yeah.
You last thing you said was there's something in for all of us.
Yeah. I would say when it comes to being intentional with dating, there was three things, 3 steps, 3 keys, if you will, that were really crucial. The first one being submission to God. So, Father, your will, not my own. The second one was process, embracing the process, understanding that it is a process. It's going to unfold and it's going to have ups and downs and highs and lows. And then the last one was patience, allowing yourself to embrace patience, because in some moments you might have to have patience for your person you're dating. You might have to have patience for yourself, and you might have to have patience for God and God's timing for whatever it is that your relationship is going to need. So those are 3 keys that we could take away for someone who's either in any point of the process. If you're dating right now, maybe you're single, maybe you're, getting ready to get married.
Yeah.
And still, submission to God, process, and patience are going to be crucial for your dating journey or your relationship in general. Even into marriage, it's huge.
I feel like another thing that people need to know, you should have done self-work before you even start dating. Right? You shouldn't go into dating thinking that this is the space where I can get myself together before the engagement and then we get married from there. No, I was fresh out of a breakup, and about 2.5 years went by, and I feel like God released me to date. Right? So it was pandemic time. And I was like, how do you date in a pandemic? How you do that now? So natural thing I did was get on Hinge. And
Did what?
On
I
what?
went on Hinge.
What is
Dating
that?
app.
It's a
Hinge.
dating app.
There's
It's
a
like
dating-
Bumble.
Hey, man.
Never heard of her.
There's too many dating apps.
Hey, listen, and this is not an endorsement. We might even take that out. You feel what I'm saying? I went on and started. That was goofy. But, I got some matches. I'm a handsome guy. My wife thinks so.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord. Right? Handsome guy, got some matches. And I decided before I went on these dates that I would be very specific in, the requirements that I had when I went out on these dates. Because at the time, I'm trying to be celibate. I'm trying not to engage in any sexual activity. So whoever I'm going out on a date with, I'm going to make that known off tops.
Absolutely.
There was one girl in specific
Oh, God.
that real cool girl. You know what I'm saying? And she making that, ain't nothing happen. You know what I'm saying? You see what ring on your finger, shawty? And she was real cool. You know what I'm saying? She had a good job going, career based, all of that type of stuff. But there were some things that I just couldn't overlook, and in my past life, I would have just been like, all right, whatever. She got a bag, like she got good things to offer me, which is selfish, right? That I would have just fell into temptation, But because I took time to do the self-work, I was able to say, all right, it'll be best for me and for you if we don't continue moving forward. Wow. So that was like one of the cleanest breakups that I ever had, because I was intentional about stewarding my feelings, but also knowing that that's God's daughter and I have to steward her feelings. Mm-hmm. So you got to make sure you're stewarding people that you're dating, even friend groups, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I just wanted to say that.
That's really good though, bro. Like to do the work.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna be honest, if I didn't do the work, I would have really fallen into, I don't know if I ever would have ended up getting married, to be honest. And I felt like I was pushed into the work.
Yeah.
I felt like God knew what I needed, and it was up to me to embrace it. Mm-hmm. So what I mean by that is, like, I discovered that I had a fear of intimacy. And I wondered, why am I trying to entertain 7 different situationships at one time?
Yeah.
And it was because I never wanted to get intimate with any of them. I never wanted to commit. It was fear of intimacy and almost like this fear of commitment. Like I didn't want to commit because I don't know really what that would actually look like and feel like if I fully committed and fully gave myself over to a relationship. Yeah. So I would entertain multiple different women, and I wouldn't even necessarily get super intimate with them. Even in that, I would just be like, hey, I'm texting this one, I'm texting that one, I'm texting, and even the language, you hear that, how I'm saying I'm texting this one, I'm texting that one. Like I started to see women as like these chess pieces, these objects, these things. So I had to realize, and God took me through that process. And I remember driving down Mulholland, the mountains. I was driving through the mountains, and this song by Stephanie Gretzinger came on. It's called "Come Out of Hiding."
Oh, shoot.
And in that song, she has this lyric where she says, "Come out of hiding, you're safe here with me. There's no need to be frightened by intimacy." And the language that she used, there's no need to be frightened by intimacy. That language just like my eyes immediately welled up with tears.
Yeah.
I got like a frog in my throat, and I just started bawling my eyes out. And I'm like, I'm afraid. And what I realized is I was even to a certain degree afraid of growing in intimacy in my relationship with God. So if you really want to do the work and be intentional, we're talking about being diligent in dating.
Yeah.
Be diligent first in your relationship with God, and your relationship with self. Because when you do that, he'll show you the things about you that you need to know in order to get to any kind of relationship. And a lot of us are like quick to want to be in a relationship, and we need to really ask ourselves, why do I really want to be in a relationship?
Exactly. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I was just gonna say. Oh no, go ahead.
No, you got it.
Finish. Well, I know. I was just gonna say, like, if your reason for getting into a relationship has anything to do with you and your own personal like value, you need to check that. And I would also recommend not dating. I think that if you go into the dating season with this approach of like, I am trying to fill something, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying fill something and feel something, you know what I mean? At the same time, don't do it. Cause I think that, for me, I got to a place where I was like, I'm actually not gonna date until I feel like God is really tugging me to somebody. Cause I was like, I don't want to waste any time. Like I don't feel that my heart is worth being put through the shredder and the grinder. Like I don't want to put it through so much shredding and grinding that I only have to offer the real person like this little piece of myself because I've given away so many pieces of myself. And I was like, I'm done. Like I'm only going to date who you are starting to highlight to me. Because if my reason for wanting to is because I want something to be completed or to be made whole by somebody else, then I'm not ready at the end of the day. So like checking your why and knowing your why is so important. And I also wanted to touch on just like the fear, you know what I mean? Like when you actually get to a space where you're like, okay, I am ready. There's such a fear attached to that comes with love. You know what I mean? Like you have to bear all. When it comes to love. Like you have to be able to give your real self and all of yourself when like God has that person in place for you. So sometimes the fear I think is like, if I give myself, are they gonna accept me? Like, are they gonna leave? Like, are they gonna walk away? Because I've shown them like all of myself, the good, the bad, and the ugly and everything in between. Like that's really what it was. Like I don't, I can't trust this person with my heart, so I'll just text them, flirt. You know what I mean? Like do that. So that's surface. That's easy. But like the real work begins when you like are ready to stay with the person and show them all of who you are.
That was the root.
Yeah, that's real.
That was the root. The root for me, for why I didn't want to be in a relationship and commit myself, was fear of rejection. If I show her this much of me, if I open up this much of me, if I show her my ugly and my scars, is she gonna run from me? Is she gonna turn away from me? And I recognized that in my childhood, like even down to when I was like trying to like think it was cool to just date girls and like I got a girlfriend, like and I was like in the 6th grade, and I remember going to a mall, and this girl had never seen me like in person, but she knew of me from other schools, and we had like talked through like different, I don't know if it was a group chat or something, but like I was like, she's my girlfriend. So like I met her in person, and the first thing that happened was I was really short as a kid, and maybe I could put that picture up here just to show y'all, because I was really short as a kid, like really short, and like I'm emphasizing really short.
Bryn's face
but I was
is
really short as a kid,
crazy.
and I remember. And this is honestly where some of the insecurity stemmed from. I remember this young lady, she saw me, she looked at me, and she started laughing and ran from me. And we're kids, so she was being immature, obviously, and it's fine. But she saw me, she looked at me, she ran from me, and then I heard from somebody, they're like, she didn't know you were that short.
Oh shoot.
And that cut me so deep, and I was like, oh my gosh. And she wasn't even that much taller than me. She was tripping. Shawty was tripping. But bruh, I ain't gonna lie to you. It cut me so deep, and all these little things would happen in life that would make me feel like if she sees me because I'm short, and maybe it's not just my physical stature, maybe I'm short in this area. Who's that? Zacchaeus? Woo! Bishop Jakes made this. Remember that message when he was? Oh my good God! I'm looking at my other siblings off camera right now. Y'all remember when he was preaching about Zacchaeus?
Their heads all slow.
And he said, hey, Bishop. And he's not short. Bishop Jakes is not short, by the way. Bishop Jakes is not short. So just in case y'all were wondering, I mean, I don't know how you could look at him and be like, he's short. But anyways, he was preaching about coming up short and how Zacchaeus was a short man in stature, and he had to climb to this tree to be seen by Jesus. And he made this parallel about how all of us, because when you think about falling short, right? Sin, we're all fallen short of the glory of God. We have all fallen into sin. We're born into it. So we're all short in some area. Some area of our lives we're short. And he gave this parallel about how all of us are short in some area. And we recognize through life and trauma and circumstances the areas where we are short. And when we recognize those areas, it causes us to show up in such a way and move from a place of insecurity rather than from a place of wholeness. And that's really what I was doing. it was, yes, I was physically short, but also I had insecurities that were birthed out of that moment. And that's what later led me into life when I didn't even know that that's what it was, to be like, oh, wow, I'm afraid of being intimate because I don't want to come up short and get
bro.
rejected.
And you bring up a good point. You bring up a thought in my head. That's why it's so important, like I said, to do the self-work, because when you date, you want to be able to give your full self.
Yeah.
You want to be able to get right. You want to be able to, people say, flaws and all, accept me, flaws and all. But what if you give them an option to accept you at your fullest? What if you bring to the table, hey, I've done the self-work. I know I still got some issues. I've accepted those issues, but here I am, knowing of my issues, aware of my downfalls, right? And I want to give you the option to choose me, the whole person, whole enough in this season, right? I want you to have the option. I'm not going to present to you this broken, half empty, no fullness of a cup, not even understanding the meaning of community type of thing, trying to isolate myself. I don't want to offer that.
Yeah.
So, and another thing I want to say, and then I'm gonna ask y'all another question, unless the ladies over here have anything to say.
I have a little something, but you said you were gonna say something right now.
Yeah. Sex is sacred, man. Dating doesn't mean we're married. Like, if there's no covenant, if there's no protection, sex is dangerous because of how intimate it is. We're talking about intimacy, right?
Oh yeah.
When you're dating, I feel like if you're having sex, because of the sacredness and the importance and the value that God has on sex, I feel like you can be blinded by the sex, and you miss out on the deep conversations. You miss out on possible red flags that could be discovered if you are blinded by the beauty of sex. Because it's still beautiful outside of marriage, but it's dangerous outside of marriage.
I love that.
So I just wanted to just throw that out there. Sex is really sacred, so keep that in mind when you're dating.
That's powerful.
That's good.
What was I gonna say? It was something that Ty was saying about being short in one area. I feel like I just had this thought that back when I would reveal more of my skin, I did not know my full self. So as I started walking with God, I started covering up more because I was like, wait, I have so much more to offer. And exposing my skin was a distraction.
Wow.
And a lot of things that I would push forward, like sex, is a huge distraction in dating, because it connects you in a way that you're not supposed to be connected with someone until you're married to them.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because we're married, so we're married. And after some things happen, we're like, wow, now that I know how like beautiful and sacred this is, I wish I would have known before, but everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
Everything happens for a reason. But it just gives us more of an appreciation now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We had the deep conversations.
Yeah.
Did y'all ever see the reference? I forget who it was. There was a reference that it was either a pastor or somebody made in regards to sex, and they took two different colored pieces of paper, and they put glue on them, and they stuck those two colored pieces of paper together. And the reference was that when you stick these two pieces of paper together, and you take them back apart, what happens? Colors and strips and shreds of the other person are left on you. And colors and strips and shreds of you are left on them. And then let's say you guys part ways.
Yeah.
Imagine how many times you stick your piece of paper to another person every time you have sex. When you finally get to the person that's your person, what are you left with?
Yeah.
Shreds. Because you stripped, and now here's the deal. God can restore.
Absolutely.
God can absolutely restore.
Big time.
All the things that the locust has stolen, God will restore that which the locusts have eaten. It's just He will. He can restore your youth. He can restore your intimacy. He can restore your purity. He can restore your innocence. He can restore.
Absolutely.
And that's why, to your point, that self-work is so important. And to do self-work without God is also dangerous.
Yeah.
Because you are limited. Your understanding of yourself is limited. You might even need to take it a step further and get outside help. You might need to find a therapist.
Yeah.
You might need to find a psychiatrist. You might literally, and without a shadow of a doubt, involve God, because he knows the highest version of you that he created. Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you.
Yeah.
So he knows that version of you that you ultimately want to be, and he can restore you to that regardless of how many times the paper's been stripped.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he can restore you back to whatever that is that you know you need to be whenever you get into the right relationship.
That's
That's
real.
good.
Nay, it looked like you was pondering on something.
Yeah.
Did you have something you wanted to say?
I was pondering if I had anything to say.
And that's okay.
I mean, I just agree. I just agree with everything. Yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, praise God.
Yeah.
And with that, Nay,
Amen.
I'll ask you the first question. Excuse me, the second question
That's
first.
right.
Okay.
Hallelujah.
Nader's in the hot
Get her.
seat.
So the question, this is for you all, but I'm going to ask Nay since he's right here. How do you guard your heart when you're interested in a person?
When I very first started dating him, first of all, I forgot who said it. But I was kind of like I was really enjoying my singleness. And I was like, I had gotten to I think you did. I had gotten to the point where I was like, I just want it to be me and God.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
That's
I'm
usually
just
when it
chilling.
happens.
Yeah.
That's usually
Yeah.
when they
I was
come.
like,
It actually is usually when it comes.
Yeah. I'm like, I just really love this. And then, you know, here comes Brett. And I'm like, oh, goodness.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
You walk like this too.
No, he
that was
doesn't.
amazing.
No, dang it.
I'm
Okay.
kidding.
We're going to get a text after this.
Yeah.
PB and A.
Naomi.
PB and A. Just know. Brett,
PB and A.
you'll know. Brett, you'll know. PB and A.
But yeah, so he kind of came along when I was single. I was really enjoying my singleness. I'm like, I'm really gonna chill, and I was thinking about moving to LA. And so I'm like, you're really cool. You're an amazing guy, but like, I don't know, you know. But then, you know, I was like, he is really cute, and he does have a lot of these qualities that I like. And I started like praying for specific things because I had the fear of like, I get sort of rejection, but also just like, I'm like, I know you're gonna leave. You know, I know you're gonna leave.
Wow.
Abandonment.
So abandonment. And so I didn't want to approach it with that way because I was healed, but I had to actually walk in my healing. That's right. And so I guarded my heart by walking through those steps with the Lord. I'm like, I'm gonna pray for these specific things that I see in a future husband, and if he has them, then I know that like there's something here. I can take more steps, maybe, and it is safe for me to then open up. And like even little things like, oh, it's so silly. I hate eggs. I hate eggs with a passion.
Really?
Why?
Scrambled eggs?
What'd they ever do to you?
Icky.
Are you serious?
What did
So
eggs
gross.
You don't
ever
like
did
fried
to
rice?
you?
I pick it out. I'm
That's like a-
Wow,
get out
pick
of
it
there.
out.
Oh, really?
This
Yes.
face is
It is.
intense.
Oh my
I
goodness.
told God.
Naomi's about to fight.
She said it with,
Right.
with
Told
a
God. I'm
passion.
like,
She said
I
that.
have to know. There's a couple things I told God, but I'm like, I hate eggs. That was my thing.
That's what you told God?
I told
Hey,
God
what's
that.
up, God?
He knows.
I hate eggs.
Yeah.
Like,
Amen. But I told God, I'm like, if I can see myself waking up 5 years from now on a Saturday to make him eggs because I know that he loves eggs. I hate them, but I would wake up early to make him eggs, then I know he's my person.
wow.
And then I feel like as soon as I got that feeling, like I would make eggs for you 5 years from now. I was like, okay. So I guarded my heart by walking through it with the Lord, but then also waiting for these like confirmations.
Yes.
He likes eggs, so I'm good. But just
That's what's
waiting for those confirmations and seeing, making sure that God is truly in this, because then once I saw it and then I saw that this person is actually for me, then I can like open my heart. Then I can, you know, have those conversations I need to, you know, but I had to get to that point with God.
Yeah.
Confirmation is big. So like I said, when I first saw Rick, it took a minute for him to actually like look at me in an attracted way. So I met him. I was a teacher for a children's church, and he came in and was like a back to school event. And he came in the classroom and sat with the kids, and they just started giggling. And I was like, Lord, who's that? Mind you, in that season, I was still talking to the last person I was talking to before him. And fast forward, like COVID happens. Maybe that's like 6 months later. We become friends in like a mutual friend group. It was like 5 of us, and we all started hanging out during COVID, like every other night. And it took him probably another 6 months for God to highlight me. And in the meantime, I had to fight flirting with him, putting myself out there, because that's what I would usually do. But God started giving me signs that he was liking me. Well, he was giving me signs too that he was liking me. But it took time, and that's where, again, patience comes in because I wanted to flirt so bad because he's attractive. But God was like, a lot of times when we would have interactions, I would just hear, shut up, don't do it, don't say anything. So a lot of my responses would just be giggles. So yeah, I waited for confirmation.
And you know what's so crazy?
good, though.
The giggles. I started falling in love with the giggles, man. You know, and like her laugh is something to this day that I love about her. You know what I'm saying? And her in that season, had she had been flirting with me, I would have just been like, nah, shawty, I'm good. You know, like because I was just in a space where I was just
You weren't
like,
trying to do
I was
nothing.
on nothing.
Yeah.
Like I don't
Yeah.
want to talk to nobody. Especially now,
I get you.
nah, I ain't gonna say that. I say this. When you come to a space in your mind where you have decided that you're not going to settle, you're not going to put yourself out there and have those fears of rejection, those fears of connection or intimacy, right? You make a decision in your mind and say, God, I'm gonna show up for you.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm gonna show up for me. That's where I was at. And that's when Mariah had her first encounter with me.
Yeah.
And over time, because we were in community, like she said, God highlighted. I really felt like God put like a flashlight over her head. She was sitting on the couch, I was sitting on the floor, and I looked up. There was just this bright light over her. And at that moment, I still had to check myself because I knew who I was in my past. Like I said, I was a lustful young man. You understand? I was a lustful young man.
man.
And I wasn't keeping God in
In
my
my
life.
life.
Now you gotta keep them in there.
You gotta keep me in your life, man. You gotta keep me.
God
That's
have
amazing.
mercy.
Keep them in
Oh.
there, Rick. Keep them in there.
You had to, man.
Yeah.
And I knew I was like, I had to check this with who I became and who I knew myself to be in my past. Had I not did that, it would have just been lust, man. You know? So after we went through that, I slowly started opening up to her.
Yeah.
She slowly started opening up to me, and we were still friends.
Absolutely.
You feel me? There were no expectations. She was in a no season. And that's the thing that I wanted to say. The thing that you got to do when you're guarding your heart and dating diligently is set boundaries.
Right.
That's excellent.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because she told me that, okay, I'm studying for, what's the name of the test?
NCLEX.
I ain't even gonna say that. She was studying to be a nurse, right? And she had to take certain tests. She had to be focused. So she was in a no season. She couldn't date. She couldn't go out of the house unless we was working out or watching the word. But God gave me revelation. He said, we're gonna work out and watch the word together. We're gonna work out in Temescal Park in Santa Monica, and we're gonna watch the word while we working out. Simple as that. So we was watching Activate LA, and we was doing burpees. Outside.
It's what it
You
is.
feel what I'm talking about? Because,
Man,
like I said, I
Rick
knew
really be
myself
doing these burpees too.
in that stage of our development. It would have been really easy for me to get really close and intimate to Mariah.
Yeah.
You know, and we were still dating. Well, maybe we weren't even dating yet. We were still like friends, right?
Yeah.
And then through that, that's what led to us becoming official.
Mm-hmm.
But saying all that to say, I had to have my boundaries, which was she can't come in the crib, because if she come in the
Right.
crib, I ain't trying to do that. You know what I'm talking about? I had to keep her outside the house because I love God and myself, and I value her friendship, right? And then she had her boundaries. We can't talk after this time and at this much time. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, boundaries is my thing, man. When you dating, gotta have your boundaries.
So
I
good.
think.
I think when it comes to guarding your heart, or how do you guard your heart when you're dating, is allow yourself to be kind of like God, be a mystery.
Yes.
Let it unfold. Let
That's
yourself try things. You know, give this in this moment and see how they respond.
Yep.
See how they take it when you tell them that you struggled with pornography.
Yep.
See how they take it when you tell them that you overcame an addiction. See how they take it when you tell them that your parents had a divorce.
Right.
See how they take it, and just test it, allow yourself to really take the time. Something I read recently that really blew my mind in regards to like not showing everything at once was King Hezekiah. If you read in 2 Kings, there was a moment where basically these people came to him and they were like, we heard you got sick, whatever, like what's up? And their intent was not to come in and check on him.
Yeah.
Their intent was to see what's he got in that treasury, how much money he got, how much gold he got, how much is he worth? Okay. And King Hezekiah showed them everything. The prophet came to him and he said, what did you show them? He said, I showed them everything. I showed them it all.
Yeah.
And he said, because you showed them it all, it's all going to be stripped from you. They're going to take every single thing and they're going to have rule over you because you gave them everything all at once.
Wow.
When I saw that, I was like,
That's crazy.
That's really good.
That's a fire
when you
breakdown
give
too.
too much
Yeah.
of yourself or too much of your idea or too much of whatever too soon,
Yeah.
you run the risk of it all being snatched from you.
Yeah, and to the
You
wrong
run the risk,
person.
exactly. You run the risk
And
of
to
your
the wrong
heart being
person,
broken
yep.
because you gave them all of it at once and you're wondering, why am I hurt? Like they broke my heart. You gave everything to them
Yeah.
way too early.
Absolutely.
So back to the beginning, take your time, go at God's pace. That's what I'll say. Go at God's pace,
Pace
whatever
of
that
grace.
is, because He'll lead you. Yeah, the pace of grace, because His grace is sufficient for you.
For sure.
He will make up the difference. Go at His pace.
That's real.
Yeah.
I was actually very similar.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was just that
Oh.
boundaries can help you, like you said, boundaries help you guard your heart because there's a lot of people who I understand, they just feel things a lot and they feel things heavy. And so like when
Yeah.
you find someone, you're like, oh, you're super cool. I just want to tell you everything. And it's like, those are the moments that like, I understand if you're a person and you feel things like that's totally fine and you want to share them and express them, but you have to do it wisely.
Yeah.
Because like Ty said, you can just like bare your whole heart and then that person's actually not for you. Like they're not your spouse. Maybe they're supposed to just be like a friend. But if you bare your whole heart and you're like, this is what I went through, and then I've been dealing with this and this and this, it could be just way too much.
Yeah.
And so even if you get a little, I don't know. I when I was younger, I used to get like super excited. I'm like, oh, someone likes me. I like them back. Blah. And there's like word vomit like my entire life, but you're not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be a process and like a growing, like you're supposed to grow into that.
Yeah. It's a dance.
I'll add this.
Yeah.
I'll add this. Before you get married, because somebody out there is engaged, before you get married, make sure there is no stone left unturned.
Absolutely.
That part.
Make sure, because yes, the mystery is there. That's while you're dating. When you get engaged, I think you should probably have had almost everything. I would say everything out of the closet. Because if you get married and there's still something hiding in the closet in your life,
Yeah.
guess what? That person is now your roommate. That person now lives with you. And guess what? There's a chance that they might go ahead and open that closet.
Yep.
And then if they find what's inside and you didn't tell them, how much harder is it going to be to navigate it when they allowed themselves to trust you
Yeah.
and then you breach their trust? Because like I thought we told each other everything. I thought we opened up. I thought we gave each other
Yeah.
all of ourselves because we committed to getting married. But clearly you didn't share it with me. Man, I had to make sure with Ren before she was my wife that I made sure there was no stone left unturned. And actually, it was her question that prompted my response. I was getting ready to tell her, but her question prompted my response. And it was up to me. Am I going to be open and share with her what's really going on? Or am I going to keep this thing in the closet and have it come up 10 years into our marriage and be destructive to us?
Right.
The fact that I opened up actually gave me more power over the thing that I was trying to keep hidden because of shame. So you get free. You get free from shame when you open your mouth.
Yeah.
We talked about it, but that's when you get free.
Yeah.
Open your mouth.
For
Let
sure.
them know. And if they run, I mean, they might not be for you.
And that's the thing though, man. I feel like people miss what dating is. Like dating is the chance to choose. You feel me?
Yeah.
That don't mean you need to serial date, right?
Right.
I feel like me personally, this is how I think. I don't think I couldn't give I'll use this. I couldn't give Mariah my full attention and pieces of my heart and be diligent in what I shared in due time and season while doing that with someone else. You see what I'm saying? Because that comes from a level of maturity. Like when you reach a level of maturity, you don't have time to entertain multiple
Exactly.
people.
Right.
Because your time is money and money is time and your time is valuable. If you consider, because I'm entrepreneur, right? Entrepreneur mindset, business owner,
Yep.
whatever, right? If you're a business owner, you can't expect to be successful in business while dating 4, 5, 6 people. While everything might look good for right now, one thing or the other will lead to something being in the deficit.
Yeah.
Right? Now, plug for PT's book, Balance. It's a great resource, right? But the balance in dating one person is enough. Like
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
the weightiness and the responsibility you have when you're dating one person is enough. So that's why when you're dating one person, you can sit down and be intentional, right? But you could also, which brings me to my next question, you could also see all right, this might be a waste of my time.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a good option for me right now.
Yeah.
This may be a good option for me later, but as of right now, I'm not able to commit or give myself to this person the way I want to, the way they deserve, right? Because I'm focused on other things,
Yeah.
right? And the question that I was going to ask is what do you need to look for while you're dating? Now, whether that be red flags or qualities of a husband or a wife. Because that's at the end of the day, that's why we should be dating.
Right.
Oh yeah.
It shouldn't be just yeah, man, I got this bad chick on my arm, Slim, you hear me? Like, she bad, and that's it. No, it's intentionality with the dating. Dating leads to engagement. Engagement leads to marriage.
Yeah.
So what do y'all think you need to be looking for when you're dating?
I wanted to make sure that I was looking for someone who wasn't afraid of their faith and wasn't afraid of or ashamed of their relationship with the Lord. Like someone that would pray in front of me, pray for me, that would ask me those hard questions that I need to hear. Like, when was the last time you journaled? What is your heart looking like today? I don't know, the things that because you're healed, ideally, when you go into a relationship, but you have to walk through that healing. So those moments when it would come up and he would call that out lovingly in the best way, I needed someone that would do that for me. And so when I was dating, and I don't know, I wasn't a dater. I didn't really date around really. But when I was looking for somebody, that's what I looked for. And so when my fiance came along, I was like, is he not afraid to pray for me? And he did that. He showed that. And so, because I was like, I know what I'm called to. And I know my own self-worth. I know how much the Lord loves me, and I'm not going to settle for any less.
Yeah.
And so if I am called to this, I can't look for someone who's down here.
Right.
I can't look for someone that I'm going to have to drag along. I know that if God put me right here, I don't know if I believe it. I'm just going to trust the Lord. He doesn't lie. So if God put me right here, I need to find someone who's going to be right here. And then we go out together.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't going to settle for anything less.
I feel that.
I think you had honestly touched on more than just the faith, and I think having a person that has the same values as you and morals as you and where they're going, a vision for their life and where they're going that aligns with yours. Because I feel like I was also, I was in a place where there could have been tons of people around me that, had lived a life of faith, had a good relationship with God. But what really differentiated everything is I was when I was falling in love with Ty, I could see where he was going and I could see the path he was going down. And when it came time to ask those difficult questions and not leaving any of those stones unturned, I was we align in so many different ways. I've always told my sibs, when you're dating, I'm they don't have to have the same personality as you. They don't have to have the same character traits as you, but they for darn sure need to have the same values and morals as you. Because on the inside, Ty and I are different on the outside, but on the inside, we're the same.
Yeah, the core.
They're on the inside as far as our values and where we're going and what we want to do. We are the same. And so I feel you want to look for somebody who you're not only just going to, see them as your partner. Who can I partner through life, which means multiple seasons, which means multiple difficulties, which means multiple mountains, valleys. This is life we're talking about. So at the end of the day, I'm looking for somebody who I know we're so in alignment on the inside that we can go through storms, that we can level through all kinds of difficulties because we are on the same page. Not that we agree all the time, but at the end of the day, we're on the same page. We're on each other's team. This is it. This is it right here. So that's
because when you are with somebody who you have the same values as and you have a similar and same vision as, you have an understanding of that person. And I believe that every person who wants to be in a relationship that leads to marriage should have an understanding of their partner. I should understand you. I should understand the things that make you you. I should understand why you do things the way you do things. And even if I don't understand, I should be willing to allow myself to understand. Talk to me about why you do this way. Tell me where this started from. I want to know more about why you do things like this so that I can have an understanding of you and see eye to eye with you And that right there, babe, is what has helped you and I keep our peace.
Oh yeah, there has to
and
be
that's-
respect.
yep.
That's because what you're saying, babe, is like they also have to respect you. Because like if they don't respect you, that's a bad thing to look for.
R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Find out what it means to Rick.
He can sing, guys. I don't know if you know this, but
R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
Ty sings.
Don't
He
look at me.
sings.
Hey,
All
bro.
right.
Don't even look at me.
Hey,
bro.
man.
Don't
Just
make
know-
no eye contact.
just
A
know-
little respect.
Just know.
Don't look at me.
Yeah,
dog.
but no, like that, because that's the thing. Like, because he respects me and I respect him, we can hash things out. You know what I mean?
yes.
Like, I'm like, he has an understanding of who I am because at the bare minimum, he knows where my heart is, and at the bare minimum, I know where his heart is, so that I can respect him, and then therefore I can trust him. So, I think that you want to look for somebody that is respecting you, that's listening to you, that values God more than they value you. We want to know that, like, that they are taking this God thing so serious. Because if I know that he's taking this God thing seriously, then I know that I can trust him to lead me as a husband and as a spouse. But yeah, and there's tons of bad things, but I'm gonna let other people answer. There's tons of bad things to look for.
So when it comes to respect, I want to lean in a little bit deeper and say they respect your boundaries, because him respecting my boundary and the way that I processed while we dated allows him to also respect the boundary as we're married, because we don't process the same way. And then there was another thing. What was it? Okay, it was respect. And then it was, they have to have someone that holds them accountable.
Yes.
Because if they're just
That talk,
There's
baby.
an
man
episode
out
coming.
there,
Ooh, they
then
gonna fall.
who is calling you out?
That's good.
Like who
That's
are
good.
you? Who are you being honest with?
Absolutely.
Because as soon as I see my girls, I'm like, this is what I'm doing. Like this is what I'm doing wrong. It's literally like falling out of my mouth because they hold me accountable and they lift me up. They pray for me. But that's what is so important in finding a partner is who holds them accountable.
I love that.
That's real. Well, you kind of mentioned it a little bit, like when you was talking about how I respected your boundaries. But on the flip side, I'll say this. I'll tell this story. It's like is it a story? It's something. It's words, what I know. So the words I'm gonna start with is when I was in a relationship with my ex, I would want to be around her all the time, right? Which I don't think is a bad thing, right? But I think there was no space for me to do processing by myself, right? And I think the word that I'm looking for right now is surrendered, right? I had to surrender Mariah in our dating and in our marriage. Let me be clear. In our marriage, praise the Lord. But when we were dating, I had to surrender Mariah because I had a tendency to try to control, like, when we would communicate and how long we would communicate in my past relationship. So I was delivered from that sense of needing to control or have my hands on the situation, but it was still something that I had to fight.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like I've been delivered from the addiction to pornography, but it's still something that I have to fight. So I had to allow her time to process, but I had to be able to sit by myself and know that just because we're not talking right now, nothing's wrong.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Yeah, I want this to be a declaration for us and for anybody who is committed to dating. The first declaration I would say is, I am surrendered. You're surrendered to God's plan. You're surrendered to God's will. You're surrendered to God's timing.
Yeah.
You're surrendered to God's process. And then the second decree I would say for us, which is the one that you just said, and what this whole conversation is about, is I am diligent. I am diligent in my walk. I am diligent in my pursuit of this relationship. I am diligent in becoming everything that God created me to be. I am diligent. And write one of those in the comments down below, because this right now is even going to be accountability from us to you and from all your brothers and sisters in the comments, because we are going to be people that are committed to surrendering to God's plan and God's will, and we are going to be people that are committed to diligence in dating and in every area of our lives. In Jesus' name.
I got a third one, bro.
Yeah.
I'm okay by myself.
Ooh, I'm a movement by myself.
All
I'm
right.
not singing the next part though,
Yeah.
because it does go on to say, you know what it says. But
I'm a force when we're
movement by
together.
myself.
Yeah. But
You are
see, but
movement.
that's real. I'm a movement by myself. I'm okay by myself.
Come on.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm a force when we're together. you're a force when you connect with the right person.
That's right.
Yes.
Right? You can't move in purpose or destiny if you're connected to the wrong person. So you could be a movement by yourself, but a detriment when you're together, right?
With the
You could
wrong
be
person.
damaged when you're with the wrong person. You know, you could be a hindrance to when you're with the wrong person. So I feel like I would just challenge y'all to like really sit and be diligent, and not only dating, but be diligent in your alone time.
Facts.
Yeah, that was really all my questions, man. Unless y'all have any final thoughts.
One last thing. It's worth it to be diligent
Yeah.
because your relationship is so important. You're talking about the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with, prayerfully.
Yeah.
Prayerfully, the person that you will spend the rest of your life with. So when you choose well, and choose someone who can be your best friend. Because I ain't gonna lie to you, these looks are gonna fade. I did that filter on TikTok where they make you old. I mean,
You didn't look bad.
I didn't look bad, but
Wow.
I'm just gonna say, man, like when I'm 85 and gray and starting to wither, like I know that her core, her heart,
Yeah.
is still gonna be for me because we're best friends. So even when our looks fade, we're not looking at our looks. That's not what brought us together. Is it a bonus? Yes. Yes, it's
LOL.
a bonus. Glory to God, my wife is gorgeous. However, if her looks were to fade, if something were to happen, she is just as gorgeous on the inside as she is on the outside. And your person, whoever that is for you, should be that way. Not just beautiful on the outside, but beautiful on the inside. That's it. That's my last thought.
I would say everyone has a tendency to just look towards marriage and think like marriage is just where I need to get to. I just need to be married. I just need to be married. I feel like marriage is much more of a serious and heavy thing than a lot of people think. That it's something that should not be taken lightly. I mean, marriage. I'm not married yet, but I'm like,
Has to be.
I know soon.
But
But I mean, marriage is fun. Like I'm sure it's fun. You know, you get to be with your person, but then you also have those hard moments and those hard conversations. And like even now, I'm communicating in a way I never thought I would. Like you're pushing yourself like further than you would ever thought. And so marriage isn't something that you should take lightly or that you should rush into. And once you get married, prayerfully, you know, you're married for the rest of your life. And so you shouldn't rush this stage because if you're married for like 50, 60, 70 years, but you like dated for like 1 year, that's so small compared to like the lifelong commitment that you have with your partner. So when you want to make sure that when you're in this stage, when you're dating, that you're doing it well, that you're not rushing through it. And they're like, I just want to get married.
Yeah.
I just want to get married. Let's just move in together. No, it's like you're rushing the setup to something that could be so beautiful and lifelong. You don't want to rush something that will last that long. So.
Yeah.
Real talk.
I want to add to that because part of rushing, I feel like, is something that we all did before we really walked and dated with God. Literally ask God, what do I text back? Should I answer the phone right now? Should I be on FaceTime? Should I respond to them at this very moment? Because God knows the work that still needs to be done in you and that other person. So literally just invite God into every move that you're about to make.
Yeah.
That's so good.
That's real.
Can I give one
I
last
feel
thing?
like Ty is brewing.
No, because Mariah just gave language to it.
Yeah.
So the 3 P's to dating. Prayer is your first one. Your second one is process. And the third one is patience. And maybe the order could be switched, but I think first should be prayer because that's your relationship to God. The second one maybe should be patience. Be willing to be patient with yourself, patient with God, patient with the other person. And then third is lean into the process. Enjoy the ride. It's like a roller coaster. You might have some loops, you might have some steep drops. You might have a coasting moment where it's getting all smooth and you think everything's cool, you're winding around, and then it takes you on a wild ride again. But just lean into it, man. Lean into it. But those are the 3 P's. If you want to be diligent in dating, the 3 P's. Prayer,
What is going on?
process, and patience.
Bro, what?
No way.
That's mine.
I gotta
Bro,
go
Ty
to
is a
sleep.
goofball. I'm gonna just
I
say
told y'all
this.
we was eating lunch.
I'll say this and then we'll
Yeah.
wrap, right? Naomi said marriage is something that is lifetime. Like divorce is not an option here. I know it's not an option
That's
there.
right.
It's not an option here. Like divorce shouldn't be an option, right? You choose with intentionality, right? And a suggestion that, Pastor Teray threw out there a while ago, date them for a year and see them through every season. You feel what I'm saying? Because it's like, you got to see if they're happy in summer and then the emotional or the depression comes in the fall or the winter, right? Or I'm joyous in the spring, and when every other season comes, I don't have that joy. And then the last thing I'll say is, pay attention to how you feel when you're around the person that you're dating. The title boyfriend or girlfriend just insists that you're more exclusive friends, right? And it's still a friend. You know what I'm saying? So when you're away from them, pay attention to how you feel. Don't let the pressures of the fleeting beauty, don't let the pressures of the titles put you in a space where you feel like you have to settle or commit to someone that is going to ruin your destiny. So
That's so good.
yeah, family. I didn't mean to end like that, but
I actually had one more thing to say. We're going back.
Hey,
Okay.
y'all. Before you go, just know, if you want more relationships, conversations, let us know.
wow. He took the glasses
awesome.
off.
I didn't know if.
I
He
wasn't
did
gonna
take his
drop that.
glasses off.
Wow.
Look at you.
I got serious
Okay.
because Rick was dropping bombs.
That's
Oh, yeah.
My wife wants to speak.
Thank you. God bless you. And God keep you. And Godspeed.
Wow.
Um,
Y'all are cute.
So, well, God bless you too. I was gonna say, and this is really simple. Like at the end of the day, the one that God has for you will always, because you said the thing that triggered this thought was like, pay attention to how you feel. Peace is the number one thing that was always consistent. Even if I was mad, it didn't matter what was going on. I always felt the initial feeling of peace, and that was from the beginning to the end and to now. So I would just say, as far as like, if you're feeling, when you're paying attention to how you're feeling afterwards, pay attention to if there is a underlying layer of peace. Even if there's, I'm a little bit anxious, or I'm a little bit, I don't know, like they challenged me on something, but is there peace? Because peace comes from God. Confusion comes from the enemy. There should be no confusion. There could be, questioning, God, I'm testing this, but there will always be an underlying feeling of peace, safety, home, covering, all that.
Even when you feel all the emotions.
Even when you feel the emotions.
We be feeling
Yeah. That's
Oh,
the thing.
yeah. You got
I'm the
to.
singer in this relationship.
Let's cut that out.
I
That's
felt
the lie.
like there was some
I'm the
cap
singer in
rap
this
there when he said it
Let's
earlier.
cut that out of the relation. Let's
Yeah,
cut
that
that
was-
out. Yeah.
I'll turn my Usher on right now, bro.
Nah, keep me alive.
Yeah, keep me
on. No, we're gonna let you not burn.
Oh dear God.
Let it not burn, actually. Let it stay frozen.
Wife,
All right.
What is going on?
did you have words?
I had said them. Oh wait, but maybe this little one. Watch out for red flags.
Yes.
Like the things that are just like screaming at your insides. And red flags aren't necessarily things that they can't control. Like let's say they have a crazy cousin. It's a red flag if they're crazy, if they like blow up on the host at a restaurant, or, like look at how consistent they are in the way that they treat others around them. What's another red flag?
I mean, we could dive into that in another episode.
A whole red flag.
yeah,
That
I
is-
feel like
that's-
that's
that
red
is
Now
a
flag.
good
that
one.
would be insane.
yeah, that would be
Crazy.
crazy. I feel like that's a good conversation.
That would be juicy
Yeah.
too.
Ty, is that okay?
It's fine. I mean, I think honestly,
All right,
should be
Generation
really-
1 family, we would like to thank you for tuning in. No, in all seriousness, family, we thank you for joining. If any of this resonated with you, which we pray it did, let us know. Send us an email, hop into Discord, DM us, whatever. We got so many ways.
All the ways.
You can talk to us, pretty much. We want you to know that you're seen, you're loved, and we value you. Your attention to this, however long this was not, it's appreciated. So continue to journey with us as we journey with y'all. We love you, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
See you next time.